All right, welcome to Talking Giants, live from Charlotte, North Carolina. Honestly, I can't believe we pulled this off. When we had this idea, it was just a stupid idea. And look at us here. We got about 20 people here to talk Giants. Check out the truck race with us.
Yeah.
I think some other people will join later. I was like, it could be like 8 people or 20 people, but I'm your host, Bobby Skinner, here with Justin Pennick. We're going to have a rotating cast of people. We're starting off with Steve Toronto. I pronounced that correctly, right?
Yes, you did.
He covers NASCAR
that.
for CBS Sports. Also covers the Panthers and does some other NFL stuff.
And a Giants fan.
Yes. You came on our radar when
second generation.
You came on our radar when we interviewed Daniel Jones trainer Mickey Bruckner, and it's like, someone wrote a story. Oh, that's Steve. So we're here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Justin, man, I can't believe we pulled it off. And I lost my wallet. Now I'm muted.
Oh, that was a story, yeah.
Oh, I lost my wallet once in North Carolina as well. When I was a student at Elon University doing Greensboro and Raleigh, me and my friends were all out at Barnes & Noble one night, and I ended up losing my wallet. And I don't remember who this person was, but he had the decency to find my wallet, pick it up, and hand it back to me. So I have always appreciated that. And so I will externalize that to just, if you ever end up losing your wallet in North Carolina, the good people of North Carolina will bring it back to you. So I'm glad that you had the experience as well, Bobby.
Well, I lost my wallet, but I didn't lose my ID because I left it on top of my rental car, and it fell off, but my ID slipped into one of the cracks of the car.
Ooh.
So 10 miles away, I get out of the car looking for my wallet. My ID's there, so I'm like, all right, it sucks I lose my wallet, but thank God I have my ID because I wouldn't be able to check into the hotel. I wouldn't be able to I wouldn't be able to get a new debit card, nothing.
And you were in bad shape.
And then a nice older gentleman found it, and I gave him a 50 spot because I was just so appreciative.
Must be nice to have a salary of over $500K a year.
Yeah, just a little over $500K.
Yeah.
I had a nice, peaceful 10-hour drive down here. Left at 4:30 in the morning, got here at whatever 10 hours is.
Yeah.
People have been drinking enough to where we started the live show, and they're just having their own good time, which I like.
Love that.
We're going to have a rotating cast. We got Research Rick is here, Tim Coffey, Mr. Brownstone. We got a good amount of people here. Tim. See, I was talking about Tim.
You've
Tim
had your
Coffey,
brewskis, yeah.
Tim in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
One, were you surprised when we did this event? And two, this is a new regime. You cover the Panthers. You've seen Matt Rule. Like, what is the one thing that you're focused on for the New York Giants this year?
I mean, really, it boils down to Daniel Jones, plain and simple, is what I really want to see, because I'm a Danny Dimes stan, is that, okay, is Joe Shane and is Brian Dable approaching Daniel Jones in good faith? Do they want to create a support structure for him to the point that he can really show what he showed in 2019 and what he showed spurts of in 2020 and 2021? Or is it a case where, okay, we're going to kind of build our team up, but, we're going to treat this as like a lame duck year for you, and we're going to start to focus on our own quarterback. Some people might want that. I don't want that. I personally think the world of Daniel Jones, and I want this team to do the best it possibly can to make sure that Daniel Jones is our franchise quarterback moving forward.
And that's honestly a question we don't know, is like what Joe Shane and they declined the option, but that was the reasonable decision no matter what you think of Daniel Jones.
Absolutely.
That was the reasonable decision. Really the only indication we can see of what they think about Daniel Jones is what they gave Tyrod Taylor for 2023.
Yeah.
That's the only thing. Okay, maybe they're not in on him. But also, I do see an offensive mind like Brian Dable, an offensive mind like Mike Kafka, a GM like Joe Shane. I mean, like, man,
actually,
they really screwed this
Daniel,
cat. Let's see what this guy can do.
The impression I get is that they're actually going to give Daniel something that is suited to his skill set, something that is reliant on RPOs and spreading the field out, spread offense. Not something that's stuck in 1992, something that Daniel Jones can actually run at a high level That's what excites me the most. Now, as far as the defense is concerned, I have a lot of reservations about what their plan is for the defensive backfield. Justin, I know you've had to address this throughout the week, but I would say I'm as optimistic about the prospects of the Giants having maybe a top 10 offense as I've had
Top
in
10?
quite a while.
Yeah.
Well, that's setting the bar high, but I mean, just, if they're like 16th, middle of the league, that'd be an improvement from where they've
that's
been.
going to be such a dramatic difference. And that's what we were kind of hoping for last year, right? Being average is going to be so different from what we've experienced, especially going back to 2016, 2017. Got a little bit of averageness-ish in 2018 and 2019. In 2019, I feel like we look fondly back on 2019 and, wow, look at how explosive Daniel Jones was. But if you compare that data, right, when you compare that data, the explosive play rate on offense in 2019, it still was closer to below average than average. But that's how much, as Giants fans, that we're just thirsting for some kind of explosive, competitive offense. Because especially the majority out of the last few years since 2016, it has been just so putrid.
Well, you say since 2016. Really, it's been about since 2012, 2013, because
the line's been bad.
Yeah, but I mean, even the kind of personnel we've had on offense. I don't remember the exact week it was. It was late in the season, though. Might have been 2014. And Larry Donnell catches a pass from Eli Manning, and if he doesn't fall down, because we've had a catch and fall down offense for years, Larry Donnell is still running. Like, we have not had a offense that emphasizes yards after the catch or real tangible athleticism compatible with where a lot of the top teams in the league have gone.
Yeah, absolutely.
So there's it goes way beyond Jason Garrett being our offensive coordinator or the offensive line being bad. It's just it really is just overall approach to offensive football. And I know, Justin, you've done some deep dives on this in terms of, are the Giants a good or a bad offensive franchise?
Yeah. Yes.
So
that was a lot of fun. Yeah.
And I thought that was interesting because growing up as a second-generation Giants fan, I ended up gravitating toward being like a defensive first guy.
Of course, yeah.
Because it's like, it doesn't matter if the offense can't score. The defense should be able to hold the lead.
Yep.
And I feel like with Brian Daboll, we're starting to adapt a little more than maybe the tradition of our franchise or the ideas of the Mara family as to what makes a good football team has allowed us to.
And it's fun because that's where the league is headed. It's not just, okay, are the Giants getting the personnel that's good? It's the Giants aligning to where the National Football League is trending as what successful teams are doing well and then what teams that are not successful, what are they doing?
I'm very much a
what are they not doing?
traditionalist, so I've struggled with this. Like, I've had to kind of confront myself to be like, okay, well, should I really be a defensive first guy, or should I place more emphasis on a really badass defense being a complement to a strong offense?
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep, absolutely.
All right, Steven. We appreciate you.
Absolutely.
Steven Toronto,
Thank you
you're
for
the
having
man.
me on here.
You're the man. I look forward to reading all your NASCAR stuff. I was talking to you before we went on. There was particularly something about Ricky Stenhouse Jr. And one of the things about NASCAR this year, don't click off. Please don't click off. I'm talking to you about NASCAR for 20
no one's
seconds.
operating the camera, so I think we're okay right now.
Why do we talk about NASCAR? What would...
Well, we're at a NASCAR race.
We're at a NASCAR race.
What are you talking about, Bobby Skinner? Of course we're going to talk about NASCAR.
We're going to be recording this, and the ARCA race is probably going to be going on. But Steven Toronto does great stuff at CBS
the ARCA
Sports.
race is going on right now, but of course this dingo who gets fooled by Steve Smith.
Oh, it's true.
That's what I wanted to ask you. Did you get fooled at all for a second?
I wanted it to be true, but from my experience with the Panthers and knowing Steve Smith's personality, I figured that he was probably busting everyone's you-know-what. So I didn't get my hopes too high.
Someone tweeted about maybe him being a coach the day before, and then I saw it. Like, he said it, it's news, and then 5 minutes later, I'm like,
it's not true.
All right, somebody tweet about it.
Well,
Come
he
someone
and
tweet
Jake
about
Delhomme
it.
were Daniel's childhood hero, so it would have been awesome.
I know. I had tweets fired off, and then it was like, oh God, we screwed this up.
I might have retweeted one or two of them, so don't feel too bad. I bought into it as much as you did.
We appreciate
But again,
you,
Steven Toronto does great stuff with NASCAR, CBS Sports. There was something recently I wrote about Ricky Stenhouse Jr., and one of the things that I really like about NASCAR this year is
today
that
I wrote about Matt Colleague, the owner of Colleague Racing.
Yes, and one of the things that
we're doing a weekly, semi-weekly series on CBS Sports. So if you're a NASCAR fan, if you're interested in a bit of a different perspective on racing, you should go check it out.
Yeah, right on. So there's been a lot of different guys that have come up in the sport this year, and you've been covering them, and it's been a lot of fun. So thank you for coming on, Steven.
Thank you guys.
Bro. Tim Coffey and Mr. Brownstone next.
Wow.
So I wanted to have these two guys on together.
We will win.
Well, we are Talking Giants Eskimo brothers.
Well, I was going to say both North Carolina guys.
Yes,
We
that's
have-
correct.
Talking Giants royalty, Mr. Brownstone, Buddy Brown. And then we have Talking Giants psychopath, Pitbull, Tim Coffey,
Yeah, that's right.
who's also a teacher. And I will say,
Them poor
I've
kids.
taken a lot of shots at you because we can. We're family.
I love you. Love you.
And the Talking Giants versus the World clip from your students was like, okay, this is kind of cool.
That
Like-
made my year. That was so awesome.
I mean, I thought of it on the way into school, and it's one of those things when you say to yourself, that's a good idea, and then sometimes you forget to do a good idea.
Yeah.
This good idea didn't go away. I
Wow.
had to do it. Yeah, I had
That's
to do
awesome.
What were your kids like?
it. They didn't give a shit.
Were they like, what
They
is-
loved it, yeah.
What they're like? What is Talking?
Didn't ask at all. They just wanted to be on camera
Yell.
and yell and be loud.
Any opportunity to be loud, I
We're
usually take.
loud and we're here.
Mr. Brownstone was like one of our earliest fans. Putting stickers on his challenge, Charger or Challenger.
Challenger.
You got?
Challenger.
Challenger
right.
you got.
It's a good North Carolina car.
And I remember one of the first ones when we were trying to be a little more clean cut. It was like, smoke gas, eat ass, Talking Giants, Mr. Brownstone. And I
Yeah?
was like, should we retweet this? I don't know, but Mr. Brownstone's been Talking Giant royalty. What's going on, fellas? I've met.
Hey.
You came to MetLife down when I was there. We hung out, and then this is the first time I've met Tim Coffey. What's
I
going
just-
on, fellas?
Well-
I just want to win games. I just want to be a winner, That's all I want.
That's all we want.
Let's win some games.
What do you want, Tim Coffey?
I want to welcome you guys to North Carolina.
Wow, thank
That's
you.
what I want to do. Thank you for
First
coming.
time.
This is fantastic. I'm going to see vehicles take left-hand turns for about 3 hours.
So excited.
Is what I'm going to do.
Tim Coffey's been on the verge of offending like every person we've met about
He's
making
being
fun of
silly
NASCAR.
now, but he knows he wants to be a winner more than anything. Let's be winners.
Mr. Brownstone, what's been your drink of choice today?
Yeah.
What's been what?
Your drink of choice today.
I've been drinking Natty Daddies because I'm the daddy of 3 fatties. I got babies all over scabies, Scandinavia, everywhere. That's
These-
a child of mine.
These are two of my my biggest like friends. There's listeners, and then you guys are my friends. And you're drinking IPAs, and he's drinking Natty Daddies, but yet we all get together and are like best friends. So
This is exactly
it works.
how I imagine it happening.
I care
It
for
really
all
is.
of my children, no matter how many I have. I will love them, but I'll keep having them. That's all that matters.
Am I one of them? Am
You're
I
having
one.
one. One's popping out in the next 2 weeks?
In the next 2 weeks.
Wow.
That's right. Thank you,
Congratulations.
Justin. You're a nice guy.
I appreciate
it.
So we were supposed to do a mailbag. Do you guys have like any questions? I kind of feel weird to ask like, hey, you want to ask us?
I feel like we're interviewing
I,
everybody
I
that
do want to
comes
have a conversation. I
Let's
actually
talk.
have thoughts on the relationship between Kayvon Thibodeau and Leonard Williams, Lionel. I want to know what you guys think about their on-field relationship and how that's going to work.
I think both will make each other better because now Kayvon Thibodeau or now Leonard Williams has that edge presence. Kayvon Thibodeau obviously, like Leonard Williams, commands double teams. If he's single team, he does well. But they're not in the same room, and that's that's something we've talked about. It's like, who is the dog in the group to like push Kayvon Thibodeau to the next
Jihad
level?
Ward.
You said that in the last podcast. You know who I think that dog is? I think it's Kayvon Thibodeau.
I do too.
As
but,
you guys
but
were
he's a
talking about on
rookie,
the last cast, I kept saying to the radio out loud in the car on the way here, it's Kayvon Thibodeau. He's going to be the guy from day one.
I agree.
That pushes not only the linebackers in the edge room, but the whole defense. He's going to be that guy.
I just want a guy there to like kind of push him, whether it's a free agent who maybe is not as good as he once was, or whoever. I just feel like they they need some leadership. And you first joined the Talking Giants Army. We had Dave Tollefson on. I talked about it on the show. Tollefson's like, no, you got to keep the microphone. You're staying on.
But I love that though. It's teamwork right there.
He's like, who's the dog in this room? Like who's the leader? So I think it's really the coaches have to really take that on. Obviously Drew Wilkins, Wink Martindale speaks highly of, and then.
But if Kayvon wants to take that on,
Rick's favorite.
I think it's going to happen very
Cox.
quickly, and I think it's going to be Kayvon.
But if he does take that on,
Then will take over in the CB2 role and take it over with guys like Cardero Flight coming in the slot. I think they'll make a big transition this year and play a big.
I'm not totally worried about okay, here's our cornerbacks now. My worry is when Adoree Jackson misses 3 games, and it's like, oh God, Aaron Robinson, cornerback 1, Maurice Kennedy, cornerback 2.
Yeah.
Rookie Cordell Flott, Darnay Holmes as I don't.
But do
that's
you care?
my worry.
It's going to be a shit show.
But it still matters, though.
It does matter. Yeah.
I mean, it's year one.
Always tough, but
It's year one.
No, man, it is. So it's like a fine line between, Mr. Brownstone comes on and he says that he wants to win. You want to effing win, right? You want to win. And I'm kind of at that point, too, where, 8, 9, 10 wins, let's say 10 wins is pushing it, right? But let's freaking creep up on 7, 8 wins. 7, 8 how you show improvement. And, I'm kind of sick and tired of seeing online, 2022 isn't about 2022. It's about 2023 and the whole balance between competing for today and building for tomorrow, right? It's a whole balance. But I want to see progress. And the way that you see progress is by winning football games. So that's why, hey, the cornerback room, especially in a passing league, that stuff matters about who's lining up and, who's out there, what does the depth chart look like. So, absolutely.
Justin, I'm allowing myself patience this year.
I know.
Strictly because of the secondary.
Yeah.
And reason being is you don't pass on Kayvon Thibodeau at all.
Right.
And you can take – no, we didn't.
Talking to the mic, buddy.
You can take this year and let next year be the year that you go out and sign the big cornerback and sign the guy that you need to sign to solidify the shit.
Right.
To me, I think this draft was it was a slam dunk. They did all the right things as far as the first round goes.
Yeah.
If Adoree stays healthy for the season, I feel a little better. It's like, okay, we're dealing with some cornerback 2, but we got someone solid out there at cornerback 1.
But I want to go back to that whole, you said Kayvon can be that guy. Maybe not should. Are you saying should or can?
I think
he that guy.
I think he should and can.
Okay. So
I think he should and can, and I think he will too.
Win.
I think he will.
And that's kind of fair because it's not like we're talking about Azeez Ojulari, the second-round pick who's 20 years old doing it. So
Mr. Brownstone is finding out why when he offered me a natty daddy that I said no.
I'm not going to finish my point on Kayvon.
It's okay.
People know what you mean, and I kind of like that, and I've never heard that. So I'm going to give you a lot of respect, Tim Coffey.
Well,
I
thank
give you no respect,
Justin
Tim
Pennick.
Coffey.
Thank you very much. And you are 2 beautiful, wonderful human beings. Thank you so much for coming down to North Carolina.
Thank you
I
for
really
coming
do
here.
appreciate
We gotta do
you
it
guys
again
coming
next
down and
year.
doing this
Yeah,
here.
this is awesome.
It is a family.
It is a family. Talking
it is a
Giants
family.
is a family.
It's us versus the world.
It's the whole
It
fucking
is.
world.
Our fantasy football chat is it's something.
All right. My brothers.
I love you, man. Thank you,
I
gentlemen.
love you too.
Slide into stacks of cash this baseball season with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. New customers can bet just $5 on any team to win and get $150 in free bets no matter what, win or lose. Looking to turn a small bet into a big play during MLB season? With DraftKings same-game parlays, you can do just that. Create your own parlay by combining multiple bets, like by which team will win, how many bases will be stolen, total runs, and more. It's your shot at an even bigger payout. DraftKings is safe, secure, and reliable. Best of all, you can deposit and withdraw your cash whenever you want. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code JOHNBOY. Bet just $5 to get $150 in free bets no matter what happens on the field. That's promo code JOHNBOY at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See
Your
show notes for
microphone's muted.
details. MLB trademarks used with permission. I have control of who is muted and who is not, and that is why I did that while I was reading the ad. Now we want to welcome on Mr. Tucker Cherry.
The only person who doesn't make me feel like a giant here in Tucker Cherry. Even though I
That's
am.
what I'm here for, Bobby.
What's going on? Mr. Brownstone, you got to get off mic, man. You're going to get us canceled.
Hey, I love all of y'all. Let's go. Let's win some games.
Let's win some games.
Let's talk some Giants. What's up, guys?
What's
Wow,
going on,
yeah.
Tucker Cherry? How you doing, my man?
Excited.
You
Just
have
excited
great
to be here.
hair.
I appreciate that, Justin.
You know,
Appreciate
Makes me
that.
feel bad about cutting mine.
I think I actually messaged you when you cut it. I was like, why'd you do this?
Wow.
A few people did, and I'm like, yeah, I know. But
It gets hot. I get it.
what's going on, man?
Man, I'm just excited to be here in Charlotte, talking some Giants. What's up this year?
So
What do you guys think is like any bold predictions?
well,
What would surprise you?
I'm gonna flip it back on you, and this is like a bland question, but like, what's the one thing you're looking for this year?
It's cliche, but progress. I just want to see
Specific though, like who?
specifically. I want to see
Like what group?
the wide receiver group. I know they can produce. I want to see some explosive plays. I want to see something that resembles a modern NFL offense. I'm tired of slant routes. I'm tired of curls. I just want to let Danny dime, let him throw it downfield. You're going to spend a ton of money on Galladay. Throw him the ball downfield. I mean, I am not that smart, but it can't be that hard to give your playmakers the ball.
Yep.
We were
No
all
more
excited.
3rd and 4s on 3rd and 5s.
If I see another quarterback sneak, I'm boycotting this team.
Kenny Galladay was signed for a reason. You may not agree with the signing now, even though you did then. He's still a good player. Kadarius Toney, when healthy, is electric. Shepard's a good player, but he's injured. And then Slayton's solid, I guess. And then Wandale is an unknown. The wide receiver group should be a good wide receiver group in the NFL. Not like the best one you think of when you.
It should be average to above average at worst.
Should be above average. So growth out of the wide receiver. Do you live in North Carolina, Tucker?
I do. I live in Wilmington, about 3 hours away. Wow. I just
3
moved
hours
from
away.
Tallahassee, Florida.
Tallahassee. Love that.
I bet you swing.
Do you go by that nickname of Tallahassee? Do you subscribe to that?
I mean, Tallahassee's like not even part of Florida.
I bet he wants this one to win.
Tallahassee's not even like truly like it's the Panhandle's like a different state. Than the
It
rest
really
of
is,
Florida.
man. South Florida and North Florida are two completely different states.
Tucker Cherry.
Justin Pinnock.
Do you make it out to any Giants games?
So funny story. I went to the Panthers game in New York for my anniversary. Shout out to my wife. She's awesome. She's a new Giants fan. We couldn't make it to a Panther. We were hoping the Panthers Giants were going to be in Charlotte because it's a lot closer.
Yeah.
But it was our anniversary, so we went up to Jersey. Spent time in New York and Jersey. It was a great time, man.
All right, right
We
on.
are hoping to make a couple more games this year.
All right, what's your record prediction for this year before we get Research Rick on the mic?
I want to say 8-9. My heart says 8-9.
Okay.
My brain says probably 6-11.
It's sad where we're at a Giants fans. It's like
we
optimistic,
can't even say like, hey, we're gonna get 12 wins.
like delusionally 8-9. But
I'll say in 3 years we're winning. In 3 years we're gonna win 12 games.
I like
not
that.
not 12 games total in 3 years. I mean, in 3 years our record is gonna be 12-5.
that could be mistaken. But we appreciate you, Tucker Cherry. Thank you for coming on this. Well, I was gonna shake your hand, but all right, Research Rick. We got to get you on the mic.
Very aggressive.
Okay.
I'm excited for this. I'm
Research
excited
Rick,
for this.
NYG SLT, or SLT, CLT, out of Charlotte. We reference you a lot. Obviously, like you do really good work. In fact, I didn't know if I was share this, but you know, when we lost Anthony, it's like, you know, do we look for a fourth member? And it was like, I don't want to force it. But I actually like approached Rick and was like, hey, like, would you want to do some stuff? And you're like, no, I kind of got my own thing going, you know, like, you know. But it was like, I'd love to, you know, provide stuff for you guys, and you do. What's going on, man? I appreciate.
Well, first of all, I can't thank you guys enough for coming down here. It's absolutely amazing. It's great to hang out with this motley crew. We got the police out here, you know, to keep an eye on us. It's great.
Yeah.
And you guys, you know, inspired me from the beginning. I mean, it was really, you guys, you know, gave me the nickname.
Research Rick?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You guys did it, and stemmed from the double team pass rush, win rate, and that just kind of.
Yeah, that
went from there.
was a big conversation, and after the Giants traded for Leonard Williams in 2019, you know, we were trying to, you know, and Anthony Tomeno was part of this effort of trying to find the silver lining between, okay, you're not getting sacks, but you're getting pressure. Yeah, the trade was bad, but is the player just absolutely terrible on a bad defense? So that was such a nuanced conversation. And then lo and behold, 2020, he had a good year. And, you know, hey, when you had access to, you know, when we all had really good access to the All-22 film on Game Pass, I mean, you're just breaking down personnel grouping frequencies, especially on the defense side of the ball, which not a lot of people do. I mean, it's Sharp Football Stats that do the personnel grouping frequency on the offense side of the ball, and I really cite that a lot. But you're the one who's breaking it down on the defensive side with 2 defensive alignment formations, 3 defensive alignment formations. That was a big thing in 2020, and you're tracking that every single week when you have, your hands on that All-22 when it's easy to see. So I really hope, NFL Game Pass, they get that product right, because you are one of the best follows for that kind of stuff, and I love that stuff.
Well, you guys are the best. I mean, of all the podcasts that are out there, you guys have the humor, the kind of the contrast and styles between the numerical and the qualitative and quantitative, if you will.
Yes.
Between the two of you guys makes you a very compelling listen, and I've been a big fan since the beginning.
Me and you are big fans of the defensive tackles dropping into coverage. That's something we always like to point out. What is something, because you look at things deeper and you do challenge us. It's like, okay, let's research. Rick had this point. Let's look at it deeper. What is something maybe from Wink Martindale, Dable, Jones that you're like, it's okay. What are you most interested to learn about from this 2022 season?
Well, Graham rotated personnel, and it led to very revealing things. I think it'll be less. I'm curious to see how that works with Wink, because the percentages at Baltimore were very low. I mean, you had a lot of people between 40 and 60% of snaps. And I didn't look at it too closely to know how injuries affected that, but I'm wondering if they'll have the same personnel rotations, or will it be just the formation within those same people? I mean, our Leonard Williams, it's been very interesting that the OTAs only using 2 D linemen.
I actually picked only 4 defensive linemen. We just did our 53-man early, during OTAs, 53-man roster predictions, and Bobby had 5 defensive linemen. I had 4 for that exact reason, that they may go with more 4 linebacker, 2 outside linebacker sets, and then the 2 D line sets.
Yeah, so it's what does that get? Are Leonard Williams and Dexter Lawrence's snap percentage is going to go way up?
Yeah.
And are we going to see more 4 outside linebacker sets, as you say?
Yeah.
So it's going to be fun to watch. It's going to be as interesting, I hope, and more successful than Graham, we hope.
It'll be very interesting to see what Wink does, regardless if
Absolutely.
It's not just is it good or is it bad. I want to see what he does, because I've looked at, I can't remember who put it out, but it's someone said Wink Martindale's top 5 in cover 4 and cover 6 coverages. I couldn't remember who put that out. So, but he had a type.
It was that even within last year's of the injuries, he did make adjustments.
Yep.
He did play more cover 0, but even with that, his other adjustment numbers, other coverage numbers were up. So there's a possibility of, because you were asking, I hope Wink has some adjustments given the personnel.
And I just want to see what they are, because not only is Wink last year had a type, he had good defenses, then the guys got injured, and it's hard to maybe change fully in a year. But now you're with a new team, and he had the Uber Eats comment on the corners. Well, you got that even a more a worse extent now. So it's what do we see from Wink Martindale? So my judgment of Wink Martindale won't be is the defense good or is the defense bad? It's going to be what do you do? How do you change? If there's bad moments, but it's okay, but there's a lot of good moments in blitzing, and you're sticking to your philosophy. It's okay, let's get him his dogs in. So that's the thing. I'm just very interested to see what Wink does, not whether he makes this defense
I love
good
the
or not.
coaches at each of the 3 levels on the defense. Andre Patterson, proven track record. I don't know if you watched his presser yesterday talking about technique before scheme. And, with particular regard to Dexter Lawrence, if he can unleash Dexter Lawrence, fantastic. Drew Wilkins on the outside, what he's done with guys from Bowser at 245 to Owa at 270, we've got those body types on the Giants, and what's he going to do there? And then, of course, Jerome Henderson in the back, who's made lemonade out of lemons, or whatever,
whatever expression.
Just for the last 2 years, and so that's very encouraging. And what he's able to do with guys like Jaron Williams, Rodarius Williams, what's he going to do with a J.K.
Kennedy.
Julian Love. I forget the new guys. Yeah, I forget Marcus Kennardi, or I've gotten.
It's tough to keep track of these guys because they are kind of getting guys from DoorDash like he says that he doesn't want to do. I want you to challenge us. We were talking about something before the show, and you've asked us this in a mailbag question, and we tend to avoid some of these questions, but I want to break it down with you right now. What is your question that you want to know from us about grading Joe Schoen? I want you to phrase it, and I want to hear what you have to say, and then we'll respond.
The front office story of the offseason is watching Joe Schoen walk the line between competing for today and building for tomorrow.
Yeah.
And looking at the totality of those decisions that he's making, his contingency plan ladder, is taking us down this path. And, you guys gave an initial assessment, which I thought was accurate, of a B-. And that was before the draft, with James Bradberry's fate not yet decided. And now here we are on the other side of the draft.
Yep.
James Bradberry no longer a Giant. Which direction do you think Schoen has trended since then? And not that it's complete.
Right.
It's going to continue to change through the summer. But what is your take on how he's walking that line today?
I would think it's similar to the same. Like, obviously, Neal and Thibodeau were slam dunks. Like, anything could happen, but those seem like slam dunk picks. But also, it was pick 5 and 7, and no tackles were off the board. So it's not, it doesn't take the greatest GM in the world to make those picks. Obviously, Wandale was picked way higher than the consensus, and the consensus is wrong many times, and that's something with as much draft work as we do, we also don't take ourselves too seriously because the draft is a lot of a crapshoot. It really depends on how Wandale turns out to me, and Cordell Flott. Like, I actually don't mind Azudu, I like Azudu in the third round. I just like Dylan Parham better. To me, it comes down to, what does Cordell Flott and Wandale Robinson turn into? If those guys, if Wandale's a consistent contributor on the offense, and Cordell Flott's just a solid player, then I feel, and then obviously Neal and Thibodeau have to be really good, A players. Then it's okay, A- for the year 2022 when we look back at 3 years from now. And then obviously pre-draft, Logan Ryan was the big sticking point, but the rest we've all been fine with, / love some of the things he's done.
I'm bumping it up to a B, going from a B- to a B. The draft is a big TBD, obviously. Now, if he hits on the draft, we're going to look back at this offseason and say it's an A, right? But I want to hear your thoughts on this, because we were talking about this before we came on. You talked about how James Bradberry and how the timing of the James Bradberry was something that he's playing it perfectly. Now, after it's all said and done, do you still feel like it played out perfectly, the timing of the release of James Bradberry? Bobby Skinner.
I feel like he did whatever he could do. Didn't they get, and it's great having researched Rick because I can get definite, didn't they get that $2 million back when he signed?
On the 2023 cap.
Then, yeah, I have no problem with it at all. He did what he could. Obviously, James Bradberry wasn't agreeing to extensions with the other teams that had trade deals out there for him. It's a bad situation, no doubt, but I don't fault him for anything that went down with that. Obviously, if you look at hindsight, it's okay, just cut him earlier, but I have no problem with it. He tried.
Yeah, I think it's hard to really handcuff him on the draft given the situation, given the lack of his own staff.
Yeah.
I think that it'll be interesting to see over time the pick of McKeithen over some other guys. Salyer from Georgia, Mays from Tennessee, and one other of the guard prospects I forget.
Lasita Smith out of Virginia Tech was a guy I like.
Right, yeah. So, are those guys going to be starters, high snap guys versus McKeithen? That'll be interesting to kind of circle back to. But again, I don't disagree on the draft this year. Neal, Thibodeau, fantastic additions.
Yeah.
It's totally agreed.
And we don't like to just there's a lot of overthinking on everything the Giants do because we're such big fans, but
guilty.
We try to not do it and not get into not everything means a big deal. Sometimes they just cut this guy for this reason or they put this guy at this position. After the draft, before they fired Pettit, it's we kind of dived into something of an unknown. It's it kind of seems like he didn't trust people on this staff. And
Yeah.
then it comes after the draft, they fire a handful of guys and then hire their own guys. Like, okay, that kind of was confirmed, and that definitely seemed like it played into Joe Schoen's. And the Cover One guys who we've had on, Glock Roach, one of our favorite listeners, clipped it.
Love Glock Roach.
He clipped their stream, and it was like every guy we drafted is like, oh, that was the Bills guy, top 30 visit, So obviously it seemed like he was relying on himself more than his scouting staff, and that's talked about with all GMs. Like that second year when they have a full year with their staff means a lot.
Yeah.
It's going to be a busy summer. I think, you guys did the 53 breakdown. I was catching myself saying, I don't think RB3 is on the line, on the roster yet.
Yeah.
Or, but I still think players are going to. I think the churn on the back of the roster is going to continue, and I think they're going to be working the waiver wire. They've got all these new personnel executives from Miami, Philadelphia, Baltimore. No, not Baltimore. Where Rossetti is Miami, Chicago, or
The Colts.
Colts. Thank you.
Today's episode is sponsored by SeatGeek. Live events are back, which means you can get $20 off tickets at SeatGeek with promo code GIANTS. If you don't know what SeatGeek is, they're a ticketing app that makes buying tickets super simple. We've got the app on our phones. Whether it's football, concerts, basketball, baseball, festivals, or more, SeatGeek puts tickets from all over the web in one place to make buying simple. I know those guys at Talkin' Giants got their tickets to the Charlotte Motor Speedway at SeatGeek, and they were having such a good time that they forgot to read this ad. That's why producer Julian is on the mic bringing it to you now. I also use SeatGeek. I've been using SeatGeek to get into the Lightning games, to watch us go to the Stanley Cup. SeatGeek rates every ticket from 0 to 10 to make sure you're getting a good deal. Green means good, red means bad. Every ticket on SeatGeek is backed by their buyer guarantee, so you can shop for tickets with confidence. Don't worry, we've got the hookup. Use code GIANTS for $20 off tickets at SeatGeek. That's $20 off your first purchase with promo code GIANTS. Make sure you click the link in the description to download the app.
Research Rick. Saquon
Barkley, number 26.
I want to talk about Saquon Barkley. Because we had a very enlightening conversation before we actually came on, and I felt like I've lost the steam and I've lost the momentum of talking about him as much as I did earlier in the offseason. And when talking about how roster decisions and certain roster constructions, how some of those things may not be done, I think at least for Saquon Barkley, I think that is kind of set. And that's part of the reason why I'm kind of keeping the score of Joe Schoen at that B, because I said the priority that I want of Joe Schoen, the biggest priority number one for me is seeing if we can trade Saquon Barkley, because it's not just about 2022, but it is about building for the future. And I do think removing any kind of long-term extension with Saquon Barkley is in the best long-term interest of the Giants. So do you agree with that? Saquon Barkley, is he here?
I'm reminded of Patricia Traina, who said that she said there was nary a beat reporter who thought that Saquon Barkley would be on the roster at the end of the year. Dan Duggan said he never thought he would be traded.
Yeah.
But most, if not all, the beat reporters think he won't be a Giant at the end of 2022.
Yeah.
Which remains to be seen.
Yep.
And I think the decisions surrounding Saquon are part of this walking the line between competing today and building for tomorrow.
Yeah.
You guys have very articulately laid out the best case scenarios for Saquon Barkley, which we all hope for. We all hope for 2,000 yards, 20 touchdowns, MVP.
Yeah.
Of course. And then what? In terms of long-term sustained success. So I think in terms of the injury history, what's going to happen. This is how Schoen will be evaluated over the next 6 months.
Yeah, I think it's huge. I think it is. I mean, I do hate to say it, but I do think it is kind of like as a black cloud kind of goes over the sun right now. I do kind of think that it is.
We were talking about Saquon. Obviously, the gods have spoken.
It is kind of like a black cloud that is over the franchise right now in terms of what kind of decision is made on his future. So
well, these are the choices that were made. And the bets, and Schoen has pushed money on various directions and various contracts, and hopefully, like in Buffalo, they'll make the playoffs the first year he was up there, and then sustain success
That's
from
right.
there.
Yeah.
All right. We appreciate you.
Yeah, you guys, thanks
It was
again for
good to
coming
meet you
here.
in person.
So great.
Thank you so much.
So great to spend time with you guys. Wonderful.
And I want to do it again in a more professional manner, official manner. So we appreciate you guys. We'll see you on Friday.
Yeah.
Not exactly sure what we'll have. Appreciate you guys. Until then, let's go Big Blue.